Season 1 finally comes to an end. And it all started here, at this tree, at this temple, a massive structure, multiple levels to a lookout point across the ocean. The walkway up to the temple, where we built as high as we could at the time, or at least as high as I felt comfortable. Our sacrifice chamber. The circular sacrifice pit with a fire in the middle. All of the forest elders looking upon the sacrifices, making sure they're good enough for the forest god. Here, the storage room, where we would take all those sacrifices and put them into their respective places. Outside of that, we have the royal garden. And what a glorious spot this is. Great spot to just come, get a little outdoor time, look out across the ocean. Protecting all of this was the first wall we ever built. The first of our defenses. Learning how to keep out the neighbors, first and foremost. That was huge. Along the wall we have our trophy room, where we have heads of all the different types of creatures that you can find and take the heads of within the forest. The second level devoted to mutants, where we keep our creepy armor and the heads of mutants that we have killed in the past. Granted, I haven't really been keeping this up to date. Outside of the first wall is the first area that we pushed into, driving the enemies backwards and creating a safe space for this little town that we have called home for a long time. The first house ever built out in this area. I never really got around to decorating the interior or putting on the second level. Inside the house and through the back door, we have a secret area where we pay tribute to the forest god. This was, I believe, a Halloween special that we did. And what a sweet staircase. I'm sorry, but this staircase, still one of my favorite things. Next door to the home, we have where we've been storing all of our rabbits. Now, they did live with us for a time in the home, but I feel like they're much happier now, being in their own separate little building. Just breeding away. Oh, look at all you little cuties. Next to that, we have the armory. Again, never really got to filling this out, but the idea is that were we ever set upon by the hordes and hordes of our enemies and mutants, this is where we would armor up, get all the gear we needed to, and go to battle. The first of our hotels, built next door to that, complete with a little entry area where people can come and sit down, rest their weary legs, maybe pull up to the bar and order a drink next to the fire. Upstairs are a couple of rooms. Modest and simple, but enough for any travelers that were coming by to rest their heads and take a load off. That is, of course, unless you were a very special guest, in which case you would get the private room with the big double bed in here. Not to mention your own balcony. I mean, how sweet is that? Across from that is the village square, where we have our nice little pavilion. Lots of places for people to just sit down, enjoy the day, watch some birds come through, and during times of celebration, kick off the light that would illuminate the whole area. The market. The stalls where we'd have vendors come through and sell their wares to passers-by or just people coming through the city. On the other side of that, we have shops for more permanent retailers to come through, set up shop, and just have some good old times. One for predominantly meats and everything, and the other one for, well, damn near anything else you can find in the forest. Clothing, medicines, just about anything you could think of. The main hotel. What a phenomenal building this was to make. I had so much fun trying to figure out how to make this building work. It started with just a rough layout, and as soon as you got inside, suddenly it became so much more, with multiple levels, different rooms coming up out of the main entryway, first floor balcony that kind of looks over everything. Coming up to the third floor landing, you really get to appreciate just how great and cavernous the main hall is. along with a couple rooms upstairs, this hotel really had just about everything. And with our main defense wall complete with watchtowers, not to mention, we had our other wall, just to make sure that our first line of defenses, to keep all the neighbors out, gave them a nasty little surprise if they thought they could just come running through these archways. We had a lot of great times using these and having the neighbors over for dinner. Last but not least was our main storehouse that we had. Honestly, probably way too big of a building, but having a second tier, like just a second level up here, for a whole nother row of even rock holders or something along those lines. Not to mention our sled shed in the back. I can't believe this is only a fraction of the sleds I ever used for this build. All in all, I'm super proud of what this little town became. From the little town and village out front, all the way to the temple in the back. What a phenomenal location. Admittedly, we never got to finish the island. I had so many plans for what this space could be, but those just never got to come to fruition. And good grief! Were these supposed to be circles? Clearly my building skills could use a little work still. Luckily, we're going to have plenty of time to explore and refine those in Season 2. Having these lit passageways at night was one of the coolest things ever. This first passageway out to what our little pond was that we used for so long just trying to get fish to survive. Reinforcing this and making this the coolest little pavilion outlook area ever was one of my favorite things that we did. And honestly, I really only like coming here at night just because of how cool it looks with all the archways coming down into the pond and our little pavilion to kind of sit and stand if we wanted to take everything in. The walkway going all the way around. It was just amazing. And obviously, reasons like that are exactly why we had to build the walls around this. Hang in there. You'll make it. Someday. Of course, if you were to take that path all the way from the outlook, you would come straight up here to what we have as base number 2 and or temple number 2, kind of depending on how you want to look at things. But with the main entryway that comes straight up to this dual tree overlook, I tell you, these tree platforms were so fun to kind of bridge together and make into one piece. I'm super happy with the way that turned out. Not to mention, we've got our mine right next to it. This mine will take you straight down into one of the caves here. This particular cave happens to be where we get all the cloth. Not a bad resource to kind of have walled off and protected for myself. The doors to the inner sanctum, the temple itself. Through these gateways, we have the Treehouse Temple, complete with a throne built into the center where a person can come up and worship the forest gods by becoming one with the forest gods themselves. Building this platform and taking an idea from Zuma to kind of use all of these weapon holders as like a half wall sort of thing, that was honestly one of my favorite little additions to this piece here, aside from this roof. The only really disappointing thing was this piece. This piece that for the life of me, I could not get rid of with a hole cutter, no matter how many times I tried. If you were to come out of the backside of the temple, you'll see this grand staircase that will take you all the way down to the beach. Now this grand staircase and this beach landing here was predominantly built so we had a nice, safe spot to sort of bring items back and forth from our island base out there all the way up to here. Not to mention a really kind of cool hanging guard tower here. I mean, from here, in case anyone gets in, you're defending the stairway, the other entrance, and the whole beach leading up to it on this side. So this was a really integral piece that we needed to build. If you were to go through sort of the third exit to the inner sanctum and follow this pathway all the way down to the beach, what you would find is honestly something all of you kind of helped me build. I asked for a lot of ideas from you on what we should do with this sort of tree stump over here. And all of you kind of gave me some different ideas that we wound up cobbling together and making this altar point, honestly. Sort of memorial to all of what we called the Lost Ones. Honestly, this was definitely one of my more fun builds that I've done for all of this, because all of you got to help me make it. Fun shape, fun design, fun idea. Everything about this was just fun and unique. And that's something very rare and hard to capture within the forest these days. Looks like we're not the only ones that like to pay our respects to the forest gods. The shipping containers. Home to the Turtle Army. And who could forget our little tribute piece that we built just to commemorate them and all the little battles they've helped us with. I mean, you can't really come here and not stop off and at least pay tribute to a little bit of the Turtle Army. We honestly wouldn't be doing a proper send-off of the Forest Season 1 unless we also addressed one of the more touching builds that we did, specifically for the ungrateful neighbors, I might add, but their own little Christmas village that we did as a Christmas special. Beds, fires, you name it, we got it. And of course, nothing truly says a Christmas village like paying homage to whatever deity or gods we have here in the forest, but we used what we had available to us and able to be represented. The death trap and the big old party house that we had when we decided to finally take on the mutants of the forest. Now, I had built this here because I had heard it was a pretty hot spot for mutants to come and hang out, but turns out that wasn't actually the case once we kind of got it going. And of course, we come, finally, to what became the final build. Now, I wanted to do bases kind of like this at each one of these giant trees that are in the game, but builds like this are really, really taxing, apparently, on your graphics card settings in your computer, even with as nice of a one as I have. But seriously, what a freaking cool structure. A giant stone dome built all the way around one of these great trees here within the forest. The whole straight down into where the tree itself lives, through all the different layers, providing sunlight on only one time of the day to this particular location. All in all, we have built some truly incredible things in this game. Some great moments. Laughed, cried, nearly shit my pants. And I cannot wait to figure out what comes next. And Phoenix, yes, I did try doing this with the gliders first, but it just wasn't showing off the way that I wanted to show off, you know what I mean? Honestly, the real question's gonna be, when the heck are we getting Season 2?